I didn't mean to do that. Oh, I'm coming in super hot. I didn't mean to do that. I did not mean, check. I did not mean to do that. I did not mean to do that. Love me, say that you love me. I don't care if you love me or not. I've always said, this is for free. I'm just adding this as extra value to you, the home viewer. The sooner you realize that the world doesn't love you, the better you'll be. As soon as you realize the world doesn't care about you, the better you'll be. Lower your expectations. You'll be happier. You'll be more content. You'll be more joyous. You'll have a skip in your step when you realize that people don't care about you. Except for, your family, your spouse, your children, your parents, hopefully. But even then, I want to make this a regular thing. Every Tuesday, I'll try to do this. And I also will try to start every live stream that I do. I just saw a comment about my mustache. I want to try every live stream Tuesdays. I want to, because I'm so concerned about climate change, I want to look at the data every week with you. Now, trust me, this, for those of you who suffer from anxieties and depression, this will help you. This will not scare you. This will help you. Okay, so let me, NASA, climate change. Okay, there's two big things we got to look at. Global temperature, of course, and sea level. Those are the big two. So let me go like that. Okay, that looks right. Let's bring this up. Okay, this is global temperature. The temperature of the Earth, as Chris Rock would say, this is the temperature of the Earth. We're right here, 2022. It's gone up 0.89 degrees from a certain level. Okay, from a certain time, I guess. Oh, but it's way below 2020, and it's way below 2016. 0.9, 0.8. Oh, it's below. Okay, so here's good news for those of you who worry about climate change. The Earth hasn't got hotter than what it was in 8 years ago. The current temperature right now is no warmer than eight years ago, 2015. You see this? Take a deep breath. Everything's going to be fine. You're in a safe place. If you have a beer, go in your fridge and get it now and celebrate. Okay, let's look at sea level. This is so much fun. Okay, sea level, here it is. Be nice to me. Okay. Yeah, are you gonna work for me? Are you? I'm not trusting you, NASA. I gotta make it bigger. No, NASA, don't do this to me. Click and drag, it said. Okay, there we go. That's still not right. Gotta drag it bigger. There we go. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties. I can't make this big. Okay, November 22. This should be big enough. Okay, sea level 104 above a certain, since 1993 it says. Okay, November 104. Oh, it was 104 in September. So September, October, November. Oh, it hasn't gone up in 2 months? Well, that's pretty good. Yeah. No sea rise in the last 2 months. Excellent. Okay, so now you can take a deep breath, sigh relief. Let's see. Fed Powell, interest rate 16%. Bill Maher and Bernie Sanders. Okay, we'll start. Oh, what? January 6th is now taking over? I didn't want to lead with that. Okay, with January 6th, if you're a granola crunching, sandal wearing, tree hugging, left winging liberal, you're going to look at all the video footage and you're going to find the worst of it and focus on the worst of it, all the bad apples, and say, this is really bad. You're going to just think this is horrible. Our democracy was at stake, and the world's coming to an end because God bless America. If you're a right-leaning, bully type Republican who doesn't care about the truth, you're going to say, well, no, look at it. Sure, there's some bad apples, but for the most part, it's not a big deal. And even if they would have succeeded, I mean, like, succeed at what? And then, so the video footage I saw on Tucker the other day, the only thing that I really didn't know before was just to the extent of how much the police officers helped the guy with the horns. Remember that guy with the horns? How they helped him get into rooms and stuff. Like, there was, I think Tucker counted, I don't think I counted, but there was like over half a dozen police officers walking this guy around, letting him into rooms and so forth. I'm going, what's the deal with that? If this guy was such a bad guy and committed such, he's in jail, I think, for 4 years. That's what they said, right? Why didn't they arrest him on the spot? That's my question. But the whole thing about so-and-so police officer dying there, I think almost everybody already knew that he didn't die there. He died the day after because of a stroke. Oh, he died of a stroke because of what happened the day prior, right? You know how people say that when you get the vaccine, you die a day later? Well, that you can't say it's because of the vaccine. Well, let's be consistent. If this police officer died of a stroke the day after, you can't say it's because of the riots. Oh, whataboutism. By the way, I'm all for whataboutism, because whataboutism is just a derogatory term that some people on the left use that basically is a consistency check. It's like the outsider test for faith in religion. So if you ever are accused of doing whataboutism, my advice is say, yes, why is that bad? I'm checking to see if you're consistent. It's so easy for people just to throw these words around and hope it has impact. Okay, that's actually all I want to say about January 6 tapes. I guess there's more tapes coming out. But I'm on record of saying that, yeah, it was bad, but it's not that bad. In fact, I would say that the riots that took place, where was it, in Portland, Seattle? And then, some of my liberal friends like to distance themselves from Antifa and say, well, they weren't, you can't say they're Democrats, but these guys are definitely Republicans. Well, really? Maybe some of them were libertarian, I don't know. But, the Antifa people, like, if you were to bet, who would they vote for, Biden or Trump? Really? You're going to say Trump? See, it's this whole thing that, you see this in religion as well. You want to make people look bad. So Republicans are evil if you lean left, and if you lean right. No, I mean, like, these liberals are so emotional, they lose control of themselves, and they riot and they loot, and they feel like life's been bad to them, and so that justifies them to do bad things as well. Why can't we just all get along, right? Why do we have to keep demonizing each other? And the older you get, I think the more you learn this. I think you learn that you got bad apples on both sides, you got good apples on both sides, you got good arguments on both sides, you got bad arguments on both sides. We're people. Why can't we just hold hands and sing Kumbaya? Like, it does kind of bother me when people think that they're on the moral high horse if they lean left or are liberal. No, you're not. And same with Republicans. You're not on the high horse if you lean right. Okay, that's all I want to say about January 6th. I want to talk about the Federal Reserve because they just talked today about interest rates and inflation and all that. What would be a good summary of this? Inflation's high. Why? Why is inflation high? Now, let me end this poll. Well, there's many reasons inflation's high. Probably the biggest reason, one of the bigger reasons, is because money has been cheap for so long. Well, what does that have to do with inflation, Doug? Well, when money is cheap, prices tend to go up. When the cost of money is cheap, prices go up. Doug, I still don't get it. What are you talking about? My brain is hurting. Well, think of it this way. If you want to buy a house and money is cheap, meaning mortgage rates are low, you can afford a house easier. Your monthly payment is lower compared to a high interest rate. Oh, Doug, thank you. Now I get it. Now this can be this can be expanded to more than just houses, cars, anything that you would borrow money for, appliances, tuition at universities. In fact, one of the reasons why tuition has gone up so much in the last few 50 years, decades, is because when you have cheap money, like let's say loans, government loans, what do the people at the universities do? Oh, you got money? You got access to money? Let's raise the tuition prices. No, that would never happen, Doug. This is just silly talk. Okay, actually, that would tie in great with Bernie Sanders when he was interviewed with Bill Maher. But still, I want to play a clip.
Al, thank you
from let's see, just a couple hours ago, where he's interviewed by Senator Kennedy from, was it Louisiana? And this Senator Kennedy guy asked some great questions and summarized actually quite nicely the inflation problem. And he actually tricked Federal Reserve Chairman Powell, Jerome Powell. He tricked him. Well, maybe he didn't trick him, but he got him to say something that the Federal Reserve Chairman didn't want to say. And I thought that was funny. Let's see.
being here. Thank you to you and your team for helping to save the economy during the pandemic meltdown. For what it's worth, I'm generally supportive of the actions of the Fed right now, and I'm not going to ask you today to blame anybody.
Pine Creek, would you recommend buying 1-year CDs or bonds if you had cash laying around? Funny you should ask, Darkin. Yesterday, I just bought a $7,000 bond, 1 year.
When Congress spends money, it stimulates the economy, does it not?
Well, it would depend on whether that's funded by tax increases or not. But so if there's a spending that's not accompanied by taxes, would have a net at the margin stimulative effect.
Well, when Congress borrows money.
That's an important distinction, that Federal Reserve. You saw me not in my head right away. But usually taxes are pretty stable for at least 4 years, sometimes 8, sometimes longer. When government spends money, that money is going into the system, the economic system, and that stimulates the economy. Now, Federal Reserve Chairman said, but if you have increases in taxation with this government spending, then it can be a net, it could be a wash. Now, why would he say this? He's implying that taxation is bad at stimulating the economy. Oh. Did you hear that? Maybe you didn't hear it, but I heard that. But maybe it's just my Republican ears. By the way, I haven't registered yet. My wife and my daughter have both registered as Republicans. I've held back so far. I'm waiting for that person to come on my live stream and sway me to the left before it's too late. I'm going to be interested in seeing that.
To spend even more. That stimulates the economy even more, does it not?
At the margin, yeah.
Okay. If Congress reduced the rate of growth in its spending and reduced the rate of growth in its debt accumulation, it would make your job easier in reducing inflation, would it not?
I don't think fiscal policy right now is a big factor driving inflation at this moment, but it's absolutely essential that we do slow the pace of growth, particularly for.
Notice he did not answer the question.
All right, let's try to unpack this then. I'm not trying to trick you. You're raising interest rates. You're raising interest rates to slow the economy, are you not?
Kazakh asks, are you naturalized, Doug? I am a U.S. citizen now. You're welcome.
Yes, to cool the economy off.
And
That was important.
you're raising interest rates. You're raising interest rates to slow the economy, are you not?
Yes, to cool the economy off.
And one of the ways you measure your success, other than fluctuation in gross domestic product, is the unemployment rate. Is it not?
Yes, one of the measures.
Okay. So in effect, I'm not being critical. When you're slowing the economy, you're trying to put people out of work. That's your job, is it not?
Not really. We're trying to restore price stability.
No,
Not really. You know, I would suck at a Federal Reserve chairman, but because I would have said, yeah, unfortunately, well, some people will have to lose their jobs in order to cool the economy. But let's listen on.
you're trying to raise
not
the
wages,
you're trying to
but
raise the unemployment rate.
There are
And
a lot of.
that mean I know you don't like the phrase, so let me strike it. You're trying to raise the unemployment rate, are you not?
No, we're not trying to raise it. We're trying to realign supply and demand, which could happen through a bunch of channels. Like, for example, just job openings.
All right,
Job
let
openings
me
could.
put it another way, okay? The Economist did a wonderful study. They looked at 10 disinflationary periods in America going all the way back to the 1950s. Disinflation is what you're trying to do. It's a slowing in the rate of inflation. Am I right?
Yes.
In other words, prices don't go down, they just don't go up as fast. Deflation is when prices actually go down. You're trying to achieve disinflation, are you not?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Based on history, in the 10 times that we got inflation down, disinflation since the 1950s, in order to reduce inflation by 2%, unemployment had to go up 3.6%. Now that's history, is it not?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but yes, the standard has been that there have been recessions and downturns when
Okay.
the Fed has tried to reduce
Now,
inflation.
right now, the current
Yes, that's an important point. So, and this is one way to help ease your anxieties or depression if you are that type of person. If history is any marker, you should expect a recession in the near future. Maybe a year. I don't know. You should just expect it. You should batten down the hatches, save your money, expect the worst.
inflation rate 6.4% and the current unemployment rate is 3.4%. Now, if history is right, I'm not asking you to again blame anybody, but if history is right, unless you get some help in order to get inflation down from 6.4% to, let's say, 4.4%, and the unemployment rate is going to have to rise to 7% based on history.
That's what the record would say.
Whoa.
Okay, and to get inflation down to 2.2%, based on history, an immutable fact, unemployment would have to go to 10.6%. Would it not?
No, I wouldn't.
That's what the record shows. That's what the history shows.
Yeah, I don't think that kind of a number is at all in
I
play
mean,
here.
I know you're reluctant to admit it, and you.
See, I know where this guy is going with these questions, and I'm not sure I should tell you if you haven't figured it out. But guess in your head. I'll pause it here. Guess why is. I've already said that he's a Republican, so that's a hint. But where is he going with this? Get it in your brain. Where is he going with this? Because right now it sounds like he's a Democrat, right? Like, you big meanie, you're trying to reduce inflation, but if you want to get to your goal, you're going to get 10% unemployment rate. You want to put people out of work? Like, this is the rhetoric a Democrat would say. But he's a Republican. Now, why is he saying it? Well, we'll find out soon.
You don't want to get in the middle of a policy dispute. But I think it's undeniable. It's undeniable that the only way we're going to get this sticky inflation down is to attack it on the monetary side, which you're doing, and on the fiscal side, which means Congress has got to reduce the rate of growth of spending and reduce the rate of growth of debt accumulation. Now, I get that you don't want to get in the middle of that fight. But the more we help on the fiscal side, the fewer people you're going to have to put out of work. Isn't that a fact?
Please answer.
Could work out that way.
Sir?
It could work out that way.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
I found that hilarious because I've listened to and read federal chairmen for the last, I don't know, 20 years at least. And they are very reticent, very hesitant to be political. But the questions that Senator Kennedy asked him were right on, in my opinion. So this is an example where you got a choice to make as a politician. Do you want 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% unemployment rate? Or do you want to lower the rate of increase of debt and spending of the government? You can't have it both. Because the more you keep spending, stimulus, any type of government spending is going to stimulate the economy. Everybody agrees about this. But if you stimulate the economy, you can't lower inflation without raising interest rates or quantitative tightening, which I won't get into. So what do you choose if you're a Democratic politician? Do you choose to have unemployment go up to 10% because interest rates have to rise so high? Or do you decrease the amount of spending, the amount of debt creation, of federal debt creation, and then have your constituents mad at you about that? It's a no-win situation, I think, for them. I think that's all I wanted to play about that. Let's get to Bernie Sanders. I like Bernie Sanders because he reminds me of Larry David. Usually it's the other way around. I like Larry David because he reminds me of Bernie Sanders. Let's see here.
I know you were advocating at the Supreme Court, I think it was last week, right? Because, or maybe it was this week, that the Supreme Court is looking at Biden's giveaway to people who own debt.
Giveaway is your term, not my term.
Well, they have college debt.
Okay, this is interesting to me. Bernie Sanders is a self-described democratic socialist. What is wrong with the term giveaway? It seems like he took offense to that, but why? I don't know. Is there someone can maybe in the live stream chat explain to me why a socialist would be offended by the term giveaway? Because it's not like people, when they have their debt forgiven, earned that debt forgiveness, right? They didn't earn it. They didn't have a right to it.
Okay, and we're going to give them money.
We're going to forgive debt.
Well, we're arguing about the same thing, but there was no argument. We're giving the money away. Okay, so I just want to read you this. And again, this is against why people sometimes, I think, question some of what you're saying. This is a survey, student loan forgiveness recipients. 73% of applicants say they are likely to spend their extra money on non-essential, including vacations, smartphone, drugs, and alcohol. They admitted that to the pollster.
Who is this pollster?
NBC.
Well, I don't know why the people are laughing when he asks, who's this pollster? Because Bernie Sanders is basically doubting the data. And then Bill Maher says this.
NBC News. 52%.
Okay, I kind of trust NBC News.
They are likely to buy new clothing. 46% they would use the money for vacation and eat out at restaurants. This is why people have a thing about, I would never call it free money. Oh, I guess I just did. But
Well, I mean, let me respond to that in two ways, Bill. You talk about giveaways.
Okay.
On the Trump-
Okay. You know how just a few minutes ago I was talking about whataboutisms? Imagine Bernie Sanders saying, what about right now? And then I'm going to press play and then listen. This is what kind of irks me a little bit. I have to admit, it gets my gitch in a waddle. It gets it tightened because it seems like whataboutism only applies to the right, never to the left. But here's whataboutism.
The Congress voted for $1 trillion in tax breaks for the richest people in this country and the largest corporations. That's a giveaway. We just increased military spending with very little discussion. I don't know if you know this.
What about military
by $80
spending?
billion. Military industrial complex.
including the Democrats.
Pardon me?
The Democrats vote for it too.
Yes, absolutely correct. Absolutely right. All right.
But that's socialism, the military. That's crony socialism.
Well, that's
Right?
crony capital.
Well, except for the contractors that they like Raytheon and so forth, that would still be. But I think in general, Bill Maher is right here. This is the federal government spending money on jobs, people in the military.
But the military isn't capitalism. That's the government.
No, but it's who owns the military industrial complexes. All right, but anyhow,
Right.
all right. So when you talk about giveaways, you have major corporations in this country that make billions in profit, don't pay a nickel in taxes. Billionaires have an effective tax rate lower than that of a truck driver or a nurse. You have a generation, you talk about this younger generation right now.
By the way, that's true. I think that's true what he just said. But the question is, why is that true? It's because the income from billionaires is usually not income. It's not wages. It's usually dividend income or capital gain income, that sort of thing.
around the country, and I talk to a lot of people. You know, I don't know anything about that poll, but I can tell you, I've talked to nurses who are working their asses off, doing the right thing. They leave school $70,000 in that. They can't afford now to get married and have children. They can't afford the housing that they desperately need. So the truth is, you got a generation that, everything being equal, the younger generation will have a lower standard of living than their parents. You and I, and I'm a little older than you, can remember 50 years ago, what did it cost to go to the University of California? Remember?
$50,
Yeah.
500.
Virtually free. City University of New York,
Right.
virtually free.
Well, let's see. My undergrad was from 1989 to 1993. And I didn't have to pay tuition because I had scholarships. I've never paid tuition in my life. But I think tuition in 1989 was $1,500 a year. And that was not room and board, that was the tuition. So unless Bill Maher is way, way older than me, well, I think he is older than me by, what, a decade? That seems a little low.
And right now, these young people are leaving school deeply in debt. They're struggling economically. They deserve a break.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
They deserve a break. Why? Just for being young? See, this is a huge difference between a guy like Bernie Sanders and me. This whole thing about deserve. Like, if you work really hard, do you deserve to be rich? No. You not only have to work hard, but you have to work smart. You have to work in an industry that has a high demand, or you have to come up with an innovation or a patent or something amazing and then go public. That's how you become a billionaire.
But in the book, you say you feel like the Democratic Party. You take your shots at them, and you're not. You caucus with them, and you run as one, but you're not completely part of them.
Right.
You say they feel like they're abandoned their cause to the beautiful people. Who are the beautiful people? I'm guessing it's
Hey,
not us.
Bill. You're looking really beautiful tonight here in L.A.
Me? Thank you, Bernie.
Here's the point. The point that I was making is when FDR was president, when Truman was president, even when JFK was president, you go out on the street and you say to people, which party represents the working class of America? Most people, I think, agree, would have said the Democratic Party.
Correct.
All right. Today, you go out on the street, and that is not the sentiment. In fact, the Republican Party probably has more adherents than
One could argue neither party represents the working class.
the Democrats.
How did that happen?
I'll tell you how it happened. It happened because 30 years ago, the Democrats said, hey, Republicans are getting all this corporate money. We want it too. Let's go out and get it. And let's forget about the people who are working 50 or 60 hours a week. So you're sitting out there somewhere in the Midwest. You can't afford health care. Maybe your job went to China and you're earning half of what you used to make. Your kid can't afford to go to college.
He sounds a little bit like Donald Trump right now. Your job went to China. China.
And you're looking at people on television doing all of their stuff, and you are saying, who the hell gives a damn about me?
You know what? He sounds exactly like Donald Trump right now. This is how Donald Trump, I think, won the first time. Well, the only time. Because he resonated with the working class middle America. Right? Didn't, what's his name? Michael Moore say that too?
Right? Who cares what my life is about? Who's addressing the crises facing my life, the pain that I'm experiencing? We have something, I don't know if you're familiar with the expression, it's called diseases of despair.
Of course.
All right.
Jack Vaughn's in the live stream chat. Shut up, Jack.
And what the doctors tell us, we have a life expectancy above and beyond COVID, which is in decline. It's in decline because people feel hopeless. Their jobs are taking them nowhere, worried about their kids, and they're turning to alcohol, drugs, and even suicide. All right? We've got to restore hope to the American.
I just heard today, and I don't know if it's true or not, that 20% of teenagers, let me put it the other way, 80% of teenagers don't drink, don't smoke, don't do drugs. I was actually encouraged by that.
people. Working class are the majority of people in this country. They are hurting. After 50 years of exploding technology, they're earning less than they did before. All right?
You sound like you're running again. No? Third
No,
time?
I'm just talking about the book here.
Third time the charm? People usually write a book when they're about to run.
Well, no.
Okay, so he's not running again. So on the student loan forgiveness thing, I think the biggest argument against it is what's called moral hazard. And Bill Maher alluded to that when he gave that poll, that when you have your debts forgiven, then that payment that you would have made, you might not be spending it appropriately. You might, now of course that goes in the economy, which is an argument that a student loan forgiveness can increase inflation and make things worse. But yeah, Bernie Sanders didn't like that when Bill Maher pointed out that they'd be spending that payment instead of on the loan forgiveness, going to eat out, going on trips and so forth. Maybe clothes. It'll definitely stimulate the economy, right? All those businesses. And then it's also an argument against the student loan forgiveness is one of fairness, which is, liberals love fairness. I would hate to have a ton of student debt and then a day later could have been forgiven. It's like, you buy something at a store and then the next day you find out it's 50% off. Well, this would be you buy something at a store and you find out the next day it's 100% off. You could have got it for free if you would have waited one more day. But I actually think if you do something like loan forgiveness, the cost of tuition will go up sky high. Because people will think, oh, I could borrow money and there's a good chance I might not ever have to pay this back. But I do agree that the wealth disparity is increasing. How do you fix that? In fact, I don't know if I said this on this channel, but I said it to some of my friends that I'd be willing to go back to a 70% top marginal income tax rate, maybe even double the capital gains tax rate. So the last time the top marginal tax rate was 70% was, I think, in the 70s. If we were to roll back every social program, every welfare program that was initiated after the 70s, I think that'd be a great compromise. Now, keep in mind, I lean pretty hard right capitalist, and I'm willing to compromise that. But I bet you money, most Democrats, definitely socialist Democrats, would not go for that. Not roll back every social program that was initiated after the 70s and after. And I'm not even sure what they all are, but I bet you there's a boatload of them. Because think of the children that would be hurt. Oh, the children. Okay, Netflix. Actually, this is not going to play, will it? Netflix with Chris Rock. You won't be able to see it, but you'll be able to hear it, right? Let me know if you can hear this. Oh, you can see it. Good.
That's right. You say the wrong thing.
No, you can't see
Motherfuckers
it.
get scared. Gotta watch out. You know what people say? They always say, words hurt. That's what they say. Gotta watch what you say, because words hurt. Anybody that says words hurt has never been punched in the face.
I love that. I was watching this Chris Rock special the other day, and because I've always been told, Doug, good, be careful what you say. Be careful what you say. Words can hurt. Yes, words can hurt. But compared to what? It'd be interesting if I ran a poll. Would you rather be called fat or be stabbed with a knife? Yes, it hurts to be called fat, but it hurts a whole lot more to be punched in the face or to be stabbed in the gut with a knife. And I just loved what Chris Rock said here because it puts perspective on it. And that's why I said what I said about January 6th. It's like, yeah, it was bad, but compared to what? Compared to Pearl Harbor? No. Doesn't make a dent compared to Pearl Harbor.
Okay? Yeah, words hurt when you write them on a brick, okay? Gotta watch out. Everybody's scared. Everybody's scared. If you a certain age and you go to work, you are fucking scared. In the old days, if somebody wanted your job, they just worked harder than you. Now, if somebody wants your job, they just wait for you to say some dumb shit.
Ain't that the truth? Now, I don't know if it's a generational thing, because Chris Rock is older than I am. And I guess I don't even need to have this up because it's just a black screen. But yeah, in the good old days, if you wanted to get ahead of someone, you worked harder, you'd be smarter. But nowadays is catch them in a trap, catch them saying something in the workplace, and then go to HR and tattle on them.
Yeah, try to get you with one of them woke traps. Say, hey, we going to a gay wedding tomorrow. How do you feel about that? Oh, it's good, it's good.
Yeah, this is why I'm not too worried about the woke movement. I know a lot of people on the right freak out about it. And I used to think, yeah, maybe, the whole CRT thing, some followers of CRT are just bat crap crazy. But I tell you, the ridicule, the mockery of people who identify as woke is just so high that I think the pendulum's swinging to the other side. and it's becoming basically target practice. Oh yeah, here's a good example of that. Target practice.
I feel heard. There's a lot of diversity. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, nigga, it's me. What, you think I'm wearing a wire or some shit? What the fuck you talking about, safe space? Nigga, you did 8 years for manslaughter. Ain't nobody safe around you. Everybody's full of shit. Motherfuckers typing out woke-ass tweets on a phone made by child slaves. You need to cut it out, man. Not only is everybody full of shit, every business is full of shit. Everybody you do business, they don't even tell you about the product no more. They just tell you how much charity they do.
Yeah.
They say, we give back. We like to give back. We don't even like the money. We just give back.
Virtues.
I'm in the mall the other day. I went by that store, what's this thing? Lululemon. Lululemon. I walked by, and in the window of every Lululemon, there's a sign that says, we don't support racism, sexism, discrimination, or hate. And I'm like, who gives a fuck?
I wish I could swear like that. But he says who gives a F because it is just clearly virtue signaling. It's like this. It's like every business wants to be loved because they can get more products sold. Look how good we are. Look how virtuous we are.
You're just selling yoga pants. I don't need your yoga pants politics. Tell me how you work on...
Oh, Franklin, in this, and I'll play this. I don't know how much I will play, but in this video, he talks about the Will Smith thing, and I'm sure most of you already heard it. But I mean, man, woo, he went to town on Will Smith. And if you think about the beauty of this, he let a whole year go by before he responded. Just as Will Smith is kind of somewhat like, okay, people may be forgotten a little bit. Maybe, you know, things are getting better for him. And then, boom! Chris Rock smacked Will Smith in this comedy special way harder than Will Smith smacked him.
On ball sweat. What the fuck you talking about, man? And then I'm watching the game the other night. There was a commercial for Subaru. Commercial for Subaru. And it said, for every Subaru we sell, we'll donate $250 to your favorite charity. And I'm like, who gives a fuck? I'm like,
Chris Rock says something great here about how to get attention. And that really resonated with me. Well, gotta be careful how I say that.
Infamous. Yeah, do some fucked up shit. Shoot up a school. Try to stab Dave Chappelle at a show. That's right, infamy. You will get attention. Number 3, easiest way to get attention. That's right, to be excellent.
Oh, yeah, you forgot the first one.
Is to be infamous. Badass.
Four ways to get attention. So if you are an attention seeker, this is how you do it.
This way to get attention. Show your ass.
TikTok.
Show your ass. You will get attention, even if you don't got ass. That's the world we live in. It's like Black China has more followers than Gayle King. Because China is showing that ass. That's right. So number 1, show your ass. Number 2, easiest way to get attention is to be infamous. Infamy. Serena Williams, greatest tennis player to ever play the game.
Yeah, so the 4 ways to get attention is be good looking, show your ass, be infamous, be really bad. Number 3, be really good, like Serena Williams.
Absolutely excellent. Being excellent will get you attention. But it's hard being excellent. You got to get up in the morning. You got to work out. You got to practice. It is much easier to show your ass. That's right. That's right. And the number 4 easiest way to get attention, number 4, is to be a victim. He's like, ooh, where he going with this?
Yeah. Everybody knows where he's going with this. And you hear that, like everybody's laughing and then, ooh. Being a victim is incredibly easy. All you have to do is feel like a victim. Say you're a victim. You don't have to be like Serena Williams or like him and get up early in the morning. No, you just wake up in the morning and you just feel that fresh smell of victimhood.
Don't get me wrong. There's no.
Oh yeah, he did make a mistake here. He said Serena Williams was the best tennis player ever. That is false. Serena Williams is probably the best female tennis player ever. Female. She wouldn't even come close. I bet you there's college players that could kick her butt who are non-professional. You think I'm lying? You think I'm wrong?
Going on? No. No. There are real victims in this world. There are people that have gone through unspeakable trauma, and they need your love, they need your support, they need your care. But if everybody claims to be a victim, when the real victims need help, ain't nobody gonna be there to help them.
Amen.
Okay? And right now we live in a world where the emergency room is filled up with motherfuckers with paper cuts.
Amen. What he just said, if everybody, well, not everybody, but if a lot of people are claiming to be victims, then when the real victims come forth, we can't recognize them through all the crap of false victims. Do I say this? Yeah, I say this. The year's 2023. That's non-controversial. But if you're an African American in 2023 and living in the United States of America, newsflash, you're not automatically a victim. If you're Hispanic, you're not automatically a victim. If you're a woman, you're not automatically a victim.
Okay? That's right. Everybody trying to be a victim. People that know good and goddamn well they ain't victims. Like white men.
Yeah.
When did white men become victims? White men actually think they losing the country.
Not me. I'm not a victim.
To who? It ain't us. When's the last time you got on a black cruise ship? Flew on a black airline? Get the fuck out of here. We don't got no money. We got some vodkas and a couple of record companies. White men.
Although I think he has quite a bit of money. But yeah, a good point. Like, no, I'm not a victim. White men are not a victim. Victims are someone who's minding their own business walking down the street and someone stabs them. That's a victim. Someone's raped. That's a victim. But just being who you are, it's not a victim. I want to play the his response to Will Smith. Let's see here. Because he was brutal. I've actually watched it 3 times because it was so good. And I'll watch it a 4th.
I don't need it. I don't need that smoke. I'm like The Rock. The Rock. I do not need the smoke. Y'all know what happened to me. Getting smacked by Suge Smith.
Suge.
Everybody knows. Everybody fucking knows. Yes, it happened. I got smacked like a year ago. Fucking last week, I got smacked in the fucking Oscars by this motherfucker. And people like, did it hurt? It still hurts. I got summertime ringing in my ear.
Summertime. There's a bill tabled in Doug's country where pronouns are to be banned in school. You're talking about Canada? If that happens, Serena would have to be addressed as the best tennis player. Yeah. Would you rather be misgendered, had the wrong pronoun, or would you rather be punched in the face? I tell you what, Chris Rock said earlier really puts good perspective on it. Would you rather be misgendered or have food poisoning for, I don't know, 3 days? Seriously. These are the questions I think some people need to be asked. I need to know how much this hurts you. So give me honest answers. Does it hurt you as much as being stabbed, punched in the face, food poisoning? Give me some perspective.
Fucking drums, please. But I'm not a victim, baby. You will never see me on Oprah or Gayle crying. You will never see it. Never gonna happen. I couldn't believe it, and I love Men in Black. No. It's never gonna happen. No. Fuck that shit. I took that hit like Pacquiao, motherfucker. I took it like motherfucking Pacquiao, okay? Shit, man. Did it hurt? Yeah, motherfucker, it hurt. And people are, well, you guys are fighting all the time. We're not fighting. First of all, I know you can't tell on camera. Will Smith is significantly bigger than me.
Yeah, Will Smith is 6'2", 250. Chris Rock is 5'10", and maybe $175.
Not the same size, okay? We are not. This guy, Will Smith does movies with his shirt off. You've never seen me do a movie with my shirt off. If I'm in a movie getting open heart surgery, I got on a sweater.
That's a good joke.
Will Smith played Muhammad Ali in a movie. You think I auditioned for that part? He played Muhammad Ali. I played Pookie in New Jack City. Pookie, motherfucker. I played a piece of corn in Pootie Tang. Shit, even in animation, this motherfucker's bigger. I'm a zebra, he's a shark. What the fuck, man? But Will Smith practices selective outrage. Practices selective outrage. Because everybody knows what the fuck happened. Everybody that really knows I had nothing to do with that shit. I didn't have any entanglements.
I think entanglements was a word that his wife uses often on the, what is it, the red chair, red table interviews.
I did not have any entanglement. And for people that don't know, and everybody know, his wife was fucking her son's friend, okay? Now, I normally would not talk about this shit. But for some reason, these niggas put that shit on the internet. I have no idea why two talented people would do something that fucking low down. What the fuck? We all been cheated on. Everybody in here have been cheated on. None of us have ever been interviewed by the person that cheated on us on television. None of us. It's like, hey, I was sucking somebody else's dick. How did that make you feel? Why the fuck would you do that shit? She hurt him way more than he hurt me, okay? Okay? And by the way, he does that shit every Everybody in the world called him a bitch. I tried to call the motherfucker and give him my condolences. He ain't pick up for me. Everybody called that man a bitch. Fucking Charlemagne called him a bitch, and the Breakfast Club called him a bitch, and The View, and The Talk, and every rapper, and the Drink Champs called him a fucking bitch. Everybody called him a bitch. They called his wife a predator. Everybody called him a bitch. Everybody. Everybody. And who's he hit? Me. A nigga he know he could beat. That is some bitch ass shit.
Yeah. Imagine Shaquille O'Neal hosting the Oscars and making the exact same joke. Would Will Smith go to the stage and slap that 350-pound, 7'2", 7'1" guy in the face? No. Selective outrage. It's easy to be outraged at someone that you know is easy pickings.
That's what the fuck happened, okay? The fuck out of here, man. The fuck? What the fuck? I do nothing to this motherfucker, okay? Whatever. Years ago, his wife said I should quit the Oscars. I shouldn't host because her man didn't get nominated for Emancipation. The biggest piece of shit ever, okay? And then so the nigga gives me a fucking concussion. No, not Emancipation. I fucked up the joke. Concussion. She fucking said he should quit because Will didn't get nominated for concussion.
Yeah, this is called tribalism. My husband's black, you're black. He wasn't nominated because of systemic racism, so you should boycott and quit your job. And if you don't, you're not part of the team.
Fuck. What the fuck? So then I do some jokes about her. Who gives a fuck? That's how it is. She started, I finish it, okay? That's what the fuck happened. Nobody's picking on this bitch. She started this shit. Nobody was picking on her. Nobody was picking on her. She said, me, a fucking grown-ass man, should quit his job because her husband didn't get nominated for concussion. And then this nigga gives me a fucking concussion, okay? What the fuck, man? I love Will Smith. My whole life, I love this nigga. I saw him open up for Run DMC at the Nassau Coliseum. These niggas made brand new funk. I love this nigga. He made some great movies. I have rooted for Will Smith my whole life. I root for this motherfucker, okay? And now, I watch Emancipation just to see him get whooped. Got me rooting for Massa, okay?
I haven't seen the movie, but I looked it up, and it's a slavery movie, and I guess Will Smith gets beat up in it.
Hey, hit him again, Massa. Hit him again. You missed the spot, Massa. You missed the spot. And a lot of people go, Chris, how come you didn't do nothing back? How come you didn't do nothing back that night? Because I got parents. That's why. Because I was raised. Okay?
Because he's a stable human being with no entanglements.
I got parents. And you know what my parents taught me? Don't fight in front of white people.
He slammed the mic down. Standing ovation. Okay, I'll open up the room if anybody wants to come in and hurt my feelings. Can talk about any of the topics we talked about today. the Federal Reserve, economy, Bill Maher, Bernie Sanders, Chris Rock, January 6th, whatever. Well, maybe something else as well. Whatever suits your fancy. Do you want to be fancy today? My pronouns today will be bitch. No, kidding. I can't believe I said such profanity on my own channel. All you have to do is click on it. All you need to do is click on it and have courage. A whole lot of courage. Welcome if you're new here. Don't be a socialist. Like and subscribe. You're not the type of person who takes handouts, are you? Are you that type of person? Just gets things for free? Maybe you are. Maybe you're just a bad person. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. Do you think this Jada Will Smith's situation similar to the guy who got canceled for cup-sized comments? Similar? I don't know. Do you think it's similar to the Jada and Will Smith thing? Sample pack to David Falk and cup size?
Wait, what is the question? Do you think that situation is similar?
To the guy who got canceled for the cup size comments. No, nobody was canceled here. It was just, well, no, I guess Will Smith was kind of canceled.
I don't really know about the cup size thing.
Oh, okay, never mind. What did you want to talk about? Oh, I know what you want to talk about.
Well, okay. If you already know, then I'll just leave.
January 6th, right?
No, I was gonna say that. Don't you think that like talking about like when conservatives whine about like cancellation and being woke and CRT, like aren't they just being victims?
Yes, they should stop whining.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too.
But if they do get injustice, I think I'm a social justice warrior. I don't know if you knew that.
I was mildly aware.
Yeah.
You froze for me, but oh no, you're back. Okay.
Yeah. So since I'm a big, huge social justice warrior, if someone gets fired for just saying the wrong words, I think that's injustice and should be fought against. Usually, like there's of course exceptions.
So if they get fired for saying the wrong words, they're a victim? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they are a victim of injustice, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But, you know, they shouldn't just, if it hasn't happened to them personally, like if you're just a guy like me, a typical white guy sitting in his home and just complaining about things that not real impact on yourself, then, you know, stop your whining and complaining.
I guess like I mean, I feel like it's a lot of that way with like the cancel culture thing is like it feels like everyone who whines about cancel culture is just playing a victim, and that like people have a right to not listen to you, right? And if that counts, if you think that that's being canceled, then like
Yeah. But I think a lot of this is just people having fun.
I don't think so though. I think that there's like legitimate whining that goes on.
Well, yeah, there's of course legitimate whining, but what I mean is people like to be angered. People like to be enraged. So a part of it is entertainment for them. Like they go on Twitter, they go on YouTube, and then they look for things to be mad about. That's their sick form of entertainment.
Like, okay, like a good example might be like the Robert Price thing with Derek from Mythvision.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Like, so do you think that Robert Price was like canceled and or does he have a right to, is he being a victim when he talks about it?
No, I don't think he views himself as a victim, says he's a victim. I've never said that. I've always said that Derek can do what he wants to do. Robert Price can do what he wants to do. Live and let live. Right. I don't think it made a dent on Robert Price's money. Because I don't think so. I don't think he even got paid when he was on Derek's channel. But maybe he did. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. Did he get paid on Derek's channel?
I don't know if Derek pays people. I don't know. I guess I think he pays some people, right, that come on his show.
Yeah. I know
don't
Carrier, when I had him on, I had to pay him, was it $100? 150 for an hour?
Oh, yeah. I was glad you played some of Kennedy on the in Congress.
Yeah.
Was that when they were in Yuma? That hearing?
No, that happened just 2 hours ago in Congress.
Well, okay, because they had two like hearings. They like went to Yuma, Arizona.
Oh, so you're saying there was a hearing before today?
They called them like field office hearings where they like go out into the field.
No, I think
and
what I played was it had just
'cause
ended.
it looked like
and
the Yuma assembly, like
it
the room
might
did.
might have been, but I was really
But-
impressed. Like you could tell he was a lawyer.
Oh yeah, Kennedy is like you know, he's a con artist for sure.
He asked great questions.
I think that they were, but I think that he when he's like, I'm not trying to trick you, I think that he's like being a little facetious. Like he's clearly got an angle, you know.
Well, yeah. I guess trickery is an eye of the beholder. He was definitely asking pointed questions, guided questions, leading questions, like a lawyer would and should.
Yeah.
And but his point was spot on, that you have a choice to make as a politician. Do you want the unemployment rate to go up, or do you want to save some of those jobs and decrease the rate of spending?
Well, Powell started to say that one of the ways to make unemployment go up is to create more jobs, right?
Oh yeah. Increase the supply of jobs. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was one that he started to say that, but he got cut off. But
Yeah.
um,
But I think the point was well taken from Powell, and he admitted it, that his job becomes easier depending on what Congress does, or harder.
right. So I guess like part of it is that you could just increase the tax rate, right, on the top,
Yes, you could do that.
because
In fact,
Yeah.
that's a legitimate way to slow down the economy.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
that's like MMT, right?
And I would love, you can admit that, but I would love more people on the left to admit that taxation is bad for the economy. Like if you could,
I think it's good for the economy. Wait,
no,
well, what you're phrasing the word like good is a loaded term, right?
okay, well maybe we're misunderstanding yourself when I said I agreed with you. One way to solve the problem you said was to increase taxes. Now, what are you talking about, to lower inflation or?
Yeah, you could lower inflation by increasing taxes,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
But why does inflation lower with increased taxation?
Because the money supply has gone down.
Right. And the economy has gone down.
I don't know what that means. The economy's gone down.
Less growth in the economy.
It's hard to say. I'm not sure.
Well, that's typically how it works.
I'm not sure because I don't know.
Because there's fewer, the money is, if the money supply has gone down, there's less money going around. That's the
Yeah,
economy.
I think part of it is. Yeah, I hear you. I think part of it is proportional. I think that there's the money at the top brackets is less active than the money at the bottom brackets. Right? Like there's like money trades hands more frequently at the lower end than it does at the top end, right?
Yeah. But then it's a question of let's say there's 10 people trading $1 trinkets versus one person who's trading $100 trinket. Like, which has a bigger effect on the economy?
The bottom.
Yeah.
The smaller trinkets, right?
Well, when it comes to, it's definitely moving more, but the total number of dollars being moved at one time is more.
But the velocity is more important, right?
Yeah, that comes in. That comes into play as well. But I do think, like, people on the left who bash the trickle down theory as well, and that's what we're talking about right now. The Federal Reserve has used a similar idea to help increase the economy, like during the 2008 crash, by lowering interest rates. What did that do to the stock market?
Right.
Right. And
Yeah, just I was
and then when people looked at their 401ks, and they saw that I am wealthier than I thought. What does that do to spending? It actually helps increase consumption. This is called the wealth effect that the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell himself, talks about. And but that is a form of trickle down. It's stock market goes up, and that trickles back down throughout the economy because people feel wealthier.
I don't know. Isn't that more of like a bottom up?
Well, it started with money creation, low interest rates, causing.
But that money
stock market to
creation
go up.
doesn't like that money creation is not coming from. Are you saying that money being loaned, that like M0 money that's being loaned out by the government, that's being given? Are you saying that the lower interest rate is coming from like, billionaires and like big corporations, or are you saying that
No, coming
that
from the Federal
individual?
Reserve.
Like,
Well,
well,
the
I guess
Treasury.
where you, yeah, but the interest rate has to do with like people, like loans being taken out, right, by the banks.
Well, it comes down to, they're taking out more loans, they're buying more stuff, but it's also the fact that when there's lower interest rates, people start looking for, okay, what do I do with? I got $10,000. What am I going to do with it? I
Right.
can put in the savings account that makes 0.1% annual interest, or I can put it into, let's say, a stock that pays a 4% dividend and might go up in value.
But I don't see that as trickle down.
Well, so okay, and that's what fueled the stock market to go up. And then what's trickling down is this wealth effect. They see that they have money in the stock market and it's gone up in value, so they feel wealthier. Well, they are wealthier on paper.
I don't think that that's what people talk about when they talk about trickle down.
I know that's not what they talk about, but I'm saying it's based on the same principle that when someone feels wealthier and are wealthier because of the stock market going up, they will tend to go to that restaurant, a little nicer restaurant, maybe leave a little bit bigger tip. They'll tend to maybe buy that car that they've been waiting to hold off on, because they look at their statements. They go, "Oh, last month I had $50,000. Now I got $125,000. I mean, wow, I am rich."
That's a big increase.
Well, let's say over 2 years, 3 years, whatever.
Okay.
And let's say they had some amazing stocks. Well, if they were invested in Netflix during 2020, definitely they would have gotten that much. So yeah, so it's the same idea. Now think about someone who's.
But like, I just worry that you're equivocating on the word trickle down, right? Like, because trickle down tends to mean like.
Don't get caught up on the. It's the idea. So the idea is, if you lower the taxes on the very wealthy, they will.
That's trickle down.
Right, but why do the proponents of trickle down think it works? What's the theory? It's
because Art Laffer wrote a thing on a napkin one time.
Come on, be more charitable than that. Like Steelman it.
Well, okay. So the idea is that if I decrease the taxes for the wealthy, right?
Yeah.
Then those wealthy are going to take that money and invest it somewhere, and that investment is going to go to some corporation that's going to make jobs.
Okay.
And that money is going to.
But why are they going to? Why would they take their money and invest it or spend it?
Because what else can you do with it? Like burn it?
What else can you do with it, right? And because they have it, what else are you going to do with it? And they feel wealthier.
No, we're talking about billionaires.
I know.
Right? We're talking about the wealthy, right?
Right. They feel wealthier because their tax rates have gone down. They now have more money than they were expecting. So let's say you make $100, you're taxed 70%.
No, you gotta do bigger amounts. Let's do like $10 million, right? Because that's when you're gonna invest that, and that's when you're gonna see it trickle down.
Right. So when you feel like you have more money than you had before, you will tend to spend it. You will, or invest it.
You're talking about for a billionaire or a millionaire,
or even someone makes $500,000 a year, small business owner.
Yeah,
because technically the wealthy, the tax rate started at $250 or $300,
like I think
$400.
the whole philosophy of trickle down is like you're going to be a job creator, right? That's what the trickle down is.
No, not necessarily. It's just to stimulate the economy. You don't have to stimulate the economy by creating jobs. You can stimulate the economy by spending. your money.
But that's trickle up. That's a bottom up perspective. Spending the money is a bottom up perspective.
No.
Creating jobs is trickle down.
You were taxed at 70%. Now you're taxed at 39%. You got all this extra money that would have gone to the government. Now it's in your lap. What are you going to do with it?
Invest it. If you're a
That's
big
trickle
person.
down.
If you're not a big person, though, you're going to just spend it. Right?
And that's the same thing as a person who stock market's gone up because of low interest rates. They got all this wealth, at least on paper. Well, if they cash it in, they do have the wealth. What are you going to do with that money? Trickles down into the economy. It's
Yeah,
the
I think
same
that, like,
idea.
But like spending and investing are like very different things, right?
Oh, well, yeah. One's on more capital durable goods and one is more on things that you eat and poop out.
Right. Like you're not really getting like a long-term ROI on money that's quote unquote spent, right? Like you're basically eating your money.
Well, but most service jobs are based on that, and service jobs make over 50% of the economy.
Yeah, I guess maybe. I mean, I kind of lost the plot a little bit, but I think that overall the word trickle down tends to mean like you're a job creator.
Don't
or
knee
something.
jerk against it.
Um,
You're
I
having
think
this
that, like-
reflexive knee jerk against it because you've been told all your life that trickle down is a bunch of bunk. But the basis of this whole
I haven't
idea.
been told that. Actually, I've been told the opposite my whole life. And
Really?
I've come to believe. Of course, yeah. That's like the right's like favorite.
Or
you know,
you spend your time around right wing people?
of course.
What do you mean, of course? I thought you were a true liberal.
I'm the omniliberal.
You should take that Dilbert character. What's his name? The Dilbert guy. Take his advice. Did you hear what he said?
It was more culture war nonsense, so I just didn't.
Oh no, you should watch my last live stream about it. The guy's amazing. He said, if you hang around Republican sample pack, you know you're part of a hate group. You need to move away from them. Well, maybe you're a closet liberal. Or do they know you?
Wait, are you saying he said that?
Yeah, he said that about black people though.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying he said that about Republicans.
No. I'm just making an
I'm
analogy.
so
here.
lost. Okay.
Yeah, you should move away from them. Do they know you think differently than them? The people you hang
I
with?
think. I mean, I try to think differently than people, but I mean, yeah, like but yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think you should continue to listen to and showcase a little bit more of the Congress stuff because I think it's good to get your perspective on it, and it's interesting to hear more of it.
Okay.
Like I'd be interested in your listening to the immigration hearings that they were having in Yuma and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I should look into that.
Yeah.
Because I've jumped all through the hoops that they have, from getting my green card to becoming a citizen.
There was also an interesting debate that I think it was Destiny had about immigration a couple of years ago, where there was this. I wonder if it was with Lauren Southern. They were talking about how basically like immigration just kind of helps the economy.
Yeah. It can and it can't. That's, and it all depends on the time frames and what, like, you can think of it very common sense like, and I know this is going to really bother some people, but imagine it costs $8,000 a year to put a kid into school, public school.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine immigrants come over from the southern border with 5 kids.
Okay.
And imagine that husband works, the wife stays home with the kids, because they're traditional Hispanic people. The husband makes, he's a mechanic. He makes $60,000, $70,000 a year. Does pretty good.
Okay.
Is that a net benefit or net during the life, let's say the immediate 5-year short term? Is that a net drag or net positive on the economy?
Positive. Because he's employed.
5 kids, all in
Uh-huh.
school.
Uh-huh.
What's 5 times 8? 40. $40,000 of taxpayers' money
Uh-huh.
into the school system to educate the
Uh-huh.
kids. Now, that is, and
Is it that cheap? 8,000 a
yeah,
person?
it's probably more, but
Oh, okay.
the husband, makes 70,000 or 60,000, whatever, after tax, after paying the mortgage, after cars, all that stuff. Like, there's no way that the husband is paying enough property taxes to make up for that $40,000 school payment, basically. So he's being,
But that's not like I don't think that that's like what you should be comparing. Really,
well, no,
right?
but in the short term, this is like a common sense no-brainer. Society is subsidizing that family. Now, in theory, one would think, okay, but these kids are going to grow up, they are going to get jobs, and then the economy will expand and so forth. So that's in theory what should happen.
Okay.
But it doesn't always happen that way.
Right.
Because there's something called cyclical poverty. If, let's say, the 5 kids grow up to have kids that, let's say 3 or 4 kids, and they make $50,000-$60,000 a year, even less than their dad, they're still being subsidized by this society. They're taking in more than they're producing just to educate the kids.
If they have jobs that make them 30,000, so you said?
No, I'm saying that if you have low income earners with lots of kids, society will have to subsidize them, at least in the short term. And I'm saying if that repeats itself,
Well,
then
let's say they
the
all
short
get
term
jobs.
becomes long term.
Let's say they all get jobs that are like low income jobs, right? Like $30,000 a year jobs or something like that.
Yeah.
Is it worth it to you then?
I would still say no. And here's a good way to think of it. If it were a good idea to have low income jobs coming into the country, then we should. Okay, what's the population of the United States? 350 million.
Yeah, maybe a little higher,
Yeah.
360.
We should have 100 million low-skilled, low-wage people come in tomorrow, because that will make the economy boom, right?
Assuming we could like accommodate like with housing and stuff.
Yeah,
like that, right?
assuming that we've got enough space. But if it's so great for the economy, why not bring in 100 million? Or let's say start with 10 million and just double it every year.
Mhm.
But why aren't we doing that? Because it's not good for the economy.
I don't know that that's why. I think it's because it's like a super contentious issue, and we have a long history of trouble with this issue.
I mean,
If you think all good ideas are just going to happen,
no. But I'm saying that it just is so painfully self-evident
it's not though.
that in the short term it is a burden. Short term. Now, what is not clearly evident is, will it make up for itself in the long term?
Yeah,
That's more the
I guess
controversy.
I'm not convinced. Yeah, I'm not convinced it's even evident in the short term.
It depends what you mean by, I guess, burden or not. Like, if I view it as a society subsidizing, like, are we agreed then?
It still depends, like subsidizing over the short term or just subsidizing
Short term.
over the lifetime.
No, short term. So, immigrant family comes in, 5 kids. They all go to public schools at $8,000 a pop. The husband makes $50,000-$60,000 a year.
Right.
Do you think that that family is being subsidized, or are they producing more than they're taking?
And I mean, if they're able to, get by with, the way things are currently, then, I mean, it sounds like the subsidization you're saying is just happening with the schooling. Is that the only subsidization?
You
you're
don't
talking
need
about?
anything else at that point. But you could imagine healthcare subsidization as
Yeah,
well.
I was gonna say, are you talking about health? I think even so, like that's just like this is the same picture of like a huge amount of American families in general, right? Would be the immigrants or not.
Well, yeah. What I'm saying is that there are people. What is it? I'm gonna guess 15% of the United States public are being subsidized by the other people.
Yeah, so I guess that like the question is like, is that a problem? Like to you, that's a problem, right?
Well, depends how you define problem, but I prefer non-subsidies over subsidies. I was raised on a farm, and I was against all farm subsidies.
Right, but like suppose you need to subsidize some portion of the population in order to have a working society, right?
Yes, and that's what we're talking about with the long-term perspective, which is a harder question to answer.
Right.
But now think of it. Here's another interesting thought experiment. Imagine you could import 10 million immigrants.
Right.
Your choices are 10 million unskilled, or let's say low skilled immigrants, or 10 million highly skilled immigrants. Which would you choose?
I mean, ooh, that's actually kind of tough
Why is that tough?
because if they're highly skilled, they're going to compete more with native born Americans, not Native Americans, native born Americans. Hey, they might compete with Native Americans too.
Oh, so you're saying that we shouldn't have high skilled immigrants because we'll take jobs away from people who are already here?
Yeah, I think that
White men?
it could be white men, you know.
Oh,
I
look,
think that
you,
might
Sam
want
Pack, you looking out for the white man.
exactly. You know, you gotta. I have to be a white man. You have to be a white man. We're a little biased here, okay? Um,
Okay,
I-
assuming there's enough work
Yeah.
for everyone, okay? Which is a huge assumption, but it still works in this thought experiment. Would you rather
if
have
there's enough work for everyone, then I mean, I'd probably
No,
take
no, no.
the
Listen to the thought experiment. You can
okay.
either bring in 10 million highly skilled, highly
Right.
paid jobs, then they'll all get jobs, job openings, or 10 million low skilled, low paying jobs. What would you choose?
And I guess like the way I see things presently in the country is that there's a lot of people that don't want to work low skill, right?
The jobs are there. You're a politician. You can say yes or no to either one. Which one do you choose? It's a
Yeah,
it's
I
a
would pick
no-brainer
more
question, right?
I think more
Saddleback?
high skill, yeah,
Yeah, you go the high skill. Why the high skilled?
because it generates more,
Generates more.
right?
It's better for the economy.
Right.
Now think of the opposite. Low skilled is not as good as for the economy as the high skilled.
Right. It's not as good, right?
Yeah. And then the question becomes, once I can move the liberal like you to understand that, then
You didn't have to move me at all. I already agreed with you.
well, you were so hesitant to answer that hypothetical though. It's like
Well, no, I think that because you can't just get like 10 million high skill and like they're not just like, available waiting in line, right?
actually I think there are.
I don't think so.
If the United States of America put an ad in every major newspaper around the world, wanted high skilled labor, 10 million immigrants, you have to have, these skill things. Like, I think even tech companies, they're begging for this. One of the major complaints has been historically, I don't know what it is at now, but is just, it's so tough to get the visa system in place and all that. And I bet you there would be 10 million people in the world who have high skills that would jump at the chance to move to America, especially the East
I don't know.
Indians.
I'm pretty doubtful. I think that yeah, probably a lot of Indians, but I don't know. I'm pretty doubtful. I think, but yeah.
But the
Yeah,
point is, highly skilled labor means high wages. High wages means more taxes. More taxes means more money available for things like schooling and healthcare. Low wages, low skilled jobs means low taxes. In fact, a big chunk of the United States doesn't pay any federal income tax,
right,
and yet they have kids.
right.
And a big chunk of the United States doesn't even pay property taxes because they rent. They pay it through their landlord, I guess. But still, if you make below average medium income in the United States and you have more than 3 kids, you are being subsidized
Right.
in the short term.
Yeah.
You are a financial burden to the United States in the short term. Now,
Yeah.
and you got to hope that your kids grow up, become productive members of society to offset the subsidization that you got from society today.
Yeah.
But the problem is, education has always been viewed as an investment, but we know, looking back, in some cases, in fact, in a lot of cases, it's not an investment. It's a flat out expense, like eating cheesecake and pooping it out.
I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of pretty stupid people out there, and I would pay a lot of money to have them all educated.
So you think, I mean, think of the most useless degree you can get.
If you got a degree, that's good enough for me.
No way.
Oh yeah, that means you had to get into the college. You had to get into somewhere. Oh my God, there's some really dumb.
You know how
people out
easy
there.
it is to get in some colleges in the United States?
You know, it's better than what.
I think the
some of
University of Arizona's undergraduate program has like a 97% acceptance rate. It's like,
That's awesome. Like, I'm glad these people are getting accepted and going to school.
so as long
I
as
would-
you have a pulse, you can get into some universities. But
if you're getting educated,
you know
I'm
that
very
guy who
happy.
came on, Nathan's friend. He came in to talk about CRT.
I don't know.
Yeah. So anyhow, I think it was my first live stream I did on this channel.
Oh yeah, that was like I remember seeing that guy. Yeah.
So he came on to talk about CRT, but then we started talking about he's a professor, assistant professor, whatever, and I forget what he taught, but
Or grad student, was it?
I don't even know. But I remember this. I remember he said that he never gives. He gives everyone an A. I think I got to make sure I got this right. I think he said he gives everybody an A unless they don't hand in their work, but he gave no time. Like you could hand in your work late and he wouldn't dock you as long as you had some excuse. I mean, it was just, he gave the impression that it was so incredibly easy to take his class if you have any type of, and
I mean, I agree that some degrees are better than other, but there are so many people that are just unbelievably stupid that I would rather have some degrees be not as good as others than to have less education in the country.
okay, yeah, but there's a difference between education and degrees, like apprenticeships, internships, certifications. There's so many ways. You don't have to go to college or university to get educated.
What about passing high school? You would agree that everyone should have a minimum of high school.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But even then, I homeschooled for my kids for a while, and I would say that it's way more efficient to get your high school diploma from homeschooling than it is actually going and talking with the humans.
I think that's a problem, though.
I know. So now the problem is like socialization, right?
No. The problem is that, like, these people that homeschool, some of them might have enough money and resources to like give their children a good education, but a lot of them are just like brainwashing their children and like not educating them at all, right?
Well, that's true, but some could say the same thing about the public school system. They're brainwashing the kids. So
Well, some people do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I'm just saying that, like a lot of people do. But I'm just saying that I think that you're overall, like, you're gonna have a much better time with public school. You're gonna have much better outcomes, and as far as your education in
are
public
you
school,
sure about that?
I believe so. Yeah.
Because I'm not sure about it either, but I have a strong intuition. I got this feeling deep down in my belly that if you were to talk to, let's say, freshman professors in colleges and ask them, do you know which students are homeschooled, come from homeschooling backgrounds and which ones don't? And if they know, I bet you they could say, my homeschoolers outperform the public school kids.
Well, you're doing two things there. One, you're selecting it. You're getting a survivorship bias there because you already got them in college, right? You're better off polling the general population.
No, I'm saying of kids who go into college, Do
Yeah.
homeschoolers do better or worse or the same as public school? Because you made the claim
but
that public school did better.
Yeah, but I'm saying don't pick from college. Pick from people who had like just in general, right?
Just in
College age person.
Okay, but what's left in education other than like you're talking
No,
about who
I'm saying
graduated
pick
from high school?
college-aged people, 18 to 22, right?
Yeah.
That and you pull the whole population, 18 to 22. Don't pick the ones that are already in college, because if you're already in college, that's a survivorship bias to know that.
But
you've
what are
already
you
gotten
polling
into
exactly if you're picking people not in college?
I'm pulling 18 to 22-year-olds that might be in college, might not be in college. Say, did you get into? Were you homeschooled or not?
I still don't understand you. Are you? Maybe we could look at acceptance rates. Do homeschoolers have a higher
There you
acceptance
go.
rate?
Okay.
Okay, my intuition is homeschoolers get accepted in universities at a higher rate than public school kids. In fact, I would be willing to bet money on it.
I don't know. I think I might be doubtful. But again, like the problem is that you're already sampling a population that's applying, like a homeschooler that is applying to college. Like what percent of homeschoolers apply to college?
Okay,
versus
so what you're really asking is what percentage of homeschoolers have a desire to go to college?
Right, right.
Okay.
Yeah, or the resources, right.
I would agree with you that that might be lower than the average public school system, but I would make the argument that that's not necessarily bad because of the other things I just said: apprenticeships, internships, certifications. In fact, one could actually say that homeschoolers, because they didn't go to college, and might be better off financially by the time they retire than someone who went to a public school system.
Homeschoolers are better off financially by the time they retire than
Compared
if
to the
they went-
public school kids. So in other words, if let's say imagine
You're talking about per capita?
yeah, so imagine a case where
I feel like I have a hard time believing it still.
so you can even think like the worst stereotypes of homeschoolers and I think maybe still see this point. Imagine like a very religious homeschool kid who thinks colleges are just for lefties and for people who are going to hell. And so they learn, they go to a 6-month certification on welding. They become a welder.
Wait, this is the worst example?
Yeah.
Like, why are they getting this certification for welding? I guess
Well, they still need a job.
maybe, but that doesn't mean they're going to be in welding, right?
No, I just picked a vocation. You want to pick one instead?
Yeah, like let's say like a server at a restaurant.
Okay. You're saying that homeschool kids would be more likely to be servers at restaurants.
Yes, or a house cleaner.
I mean, as for the rest of their life.
Could be. I don't know. Once you start serving, you don't stop serving.
Well, I guess we could look at that. What percentage per capita of servers are homeschooled kids?
Or you should also do like just like job distribution of homeschooled kids, right? That would be interesting. Like by industry or by.
I don't know if that data is even out there.
I don't know either. I don't know. I don't spend my free time like looking up homeschool kids. That's where you and I differ. I know what you do in your free time. Finding anything?
78% of the this is just the first hit off Google. I asked just the first question we talked about. Do homeschool kids do better at school? Ray found that overall, 78% of the compared and reviewed studies confirmed that homeschool children performed significantly better than their public school peers in terms of academic performance. Only 11% found no significant difference, and 4% found that conventional school students performed better. But we want to call it, is that college? Research has shown that homeschooled students have higher graduation rates when compared to traditional school students when talking about fall-to-fall retention at college. Homeschooled students had a retention rate of 88.6, while traditional school students 87.6. So that's pretty much the same. How about career? I just realized that. Have I been showing your face during this?
I don't know. I'm just watching the normal chat or the normal whereby.
I'm sure this is just all homeschooling propaganda, right?
I'm sure like 50% of it is.
Homeschooling
Do you
works
count?
in the oh, here we go. Well, yeah, I'm sure this is just propaganda, but homeschooling works in the workplace.
Do you count homeschooling as a negative because it takes the parent out of the workforce?
No. Economically, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, one could make that argument.
Because you also have to have you can either sustain it, like there's some privilege that the household must have, right, in order to do it, or they punish themselves, right? So either like someone has to be wealthy enough to afford it, or the family has to be wealthy enough to afford it, or
Yeah. Well, and you know my stance on that, right?
I'm not sure.
That you shouldn't have kids unless you've deeply planned for them, which means
Yeah.
includes afford them.
Right.
So, in my opinion, the best case scenario.
So you're pro-abortion, right? That's why, because you want to.
I'm not.
get them
I'm
out?
not against it if you don't want the kids, but I get icky after the 20-week stage or 12, 14 in there somewhere. But
What if you're really poor? Can you?
no, that's why I said I am for it.
Okay.
But
the more poor you are, can you go further past 20 weeks?
oh, I see. That's what you're asking. No, well,
Yeah.
my ickiness,
Does your penis decrease?
yeah, is just there comes a point where the value of the fetus baby in you is non-zero, and as it progresses, that value keeps increasing, and the value to even
The
other
value to
people
who, though?
to other people keeps increasing.
The value to you?
To me personally, it's still pretty low, but I'm talking about the value to, let's say, the friends and family of the woman, like the woman herself who has to carry it. The
But if she doesn't want it, right?
longer it goes, I would think the more invested she is in that baby.
Even if she doesn't want it?
Yeah, I think in the sense, well, you would have to ask her, but
Now you're being a real social justice warrior. You're trying to, fight for this.
this whole idea that it's the woman's choice no matter what, no, it isn't.
But to whom is the value?
Society.
So you're now you are going for society in the social justice.
Yeah, well, you didn't believe me when I said I was a social justice warrior?
No, I believe you. I was just like trying to understand your exact stance on this issue.
Now, don't get me wrong. I will say that the value of a baby in a womb is still far, far, far lower than the value of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. But you can't just say, oh, whatever the woman wants to do. And I know this bothers some women to hear this, but suck it up. We live in a society.
Yeah, I just don't think. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before, but I don't think that the baby has much value. The fetus has much value. I mean, I think that like just like you think that these children are a burden and like are subsidized, I feel like it's the same way, right? Like this baby has no.
Yeah. There's some babies that are born in such horrendous conditions. I'm not even talking about the United States right now because the United States is such a wonderful country. But I was looking to see if I could trigger you. But, there's conditions on planet Earth, impoverished conditions, where the child has like such a low probability of surviving past, 2 years old.
Right.
And starving, and like it would be better to abort. Like the pain and suffering you just lower by abortion.
Right. At any age. At that point, you're going for any age.
Actually,
right?
I was going to play the Chris Rock clip of he had a great, maybe I should still play it. He talks about abortion for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And he does it in a way that nobody knows what side he's on.
Mm.
And he makes the comment that kids should be allowed to be aborted until they're age 4. And I thought about you when he said that.
So I said age 2.
Yeah, he went to age 4. He said you should wait till the first report card.
Right.
And so
know
preschool,
about
if the
that.
preschool report card comes back bad,
When does preschool
take
start?
take the kid back to the clinic. That
When
was
does
his
preschool
joke.
start?
I don't know. Preschool starts at 4, I think. 3.
Okay.
Yeah. I got a lot of people mad at me in the chat.
Are they?
Anyhow, I'll let you go. Maybe someone else wants to come in.
Okay, let me know if you find anything interesting on homeschooling. I'd be interested in finding something about it.
You don't have kids though, right?
Not yet.
You got a gal?
No.
Oh.
But I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I tell you, there's so many benefits to homeschooling. I do think it's way more efficient. Just the transportation to and from
I don't
school.
think so. I think it's actually more inefficient. It's just like a mass, like manufacturing, right? If you want to manufacture something, you don't do it in small batches, every location. You do it in a big factory, right? A school is like a factory of education. It's way more efficient.
No, let's say you're teaching times tables, okay?
Okay.
And so your kid has to memorize the times tables. That takes time to memorize the times tables. It takes time to go from home, get dressed, have breakfast, drive to school, either on a bus or car, whatever, and then drive back. For I think a lot of kids, that transportation time is at least 20 minutes a day, probably closer to 40.
Yeah, for me, it's a lot longer. I used to ride the bus for like an hour and a half.
My son could get up in his undies, head over to the computer. While he's eating his breakfast, he's memorizing the times tables on this.
No, he's not.
On this, no, you
He's not
did
paying attention.
on the program. It was called Alex. That was one of the first things it did on Alex. It's like every time the math curriculum was memorizing times tables. While kids are still, on their bus on their way to school, he's already spent that 10, 15 minutes. That's what I mean by more efficient.
Yeah, I can see. I think I can see that, but I don't know that. Yeah, I guess we just are meaning efficient in different ways. Because like from a societal sense, now that we're back with society, I feel like teaching like schools are much more efficient, right?
Well, yeah, you're saying one teacher can teach 20 kids.
20, 30 kids.
Yeah,
right?
I understand that. But then the thing is, what is better? 1-to-20 ratio or 1-to-1 if you want quality education?
It depends. I think probably like closer to like 10 to 15 is probably the right amount.
No, that was my question. What is better, 10 to 15 to 1 or 1-to-1?
I think 10 to 15 to 1 might be better.
For teaching?
It can be.
I'm not
It
talking about
depends on,
social
like-
interaction here. I'm just talking about just getting the information across.
I think that there can be sometimes more learning that goes on in that group setting because like a lot of times like students don't know like what questions
We're not
they should be
talking about brainstorming for a screenplay for a movie. I'm talking about just basic
no
reading,
like
writing.
if you're in a teaching environment, right, and you're in a classroom, then like one student may ask a question that they're confused on, and having that question explained is like means that the other student can learn from that.
Yeah,
other
and
student.
how many? Yeah, that's true. But how many students are
Yeah.
too scared to ask a question because of the fear that they'll be looked at, teased, or whatever, viewed as stupid? Whereas if you're homeschooled, Mom, I don't get this. This is stupid. I don't understand this, Dad. There's no fear of kids bullying you for asking a stupid question. No fear of the
Yeah.
teacher. I mean, you have a relationship with your child where the child knows you love them and you got their best interests at heart, and they're not scared to say, usually not scared to say, I don't get this. Or the parent can just look them in the eyes and they can tell if they get it or not.
Yeah,
Whereas a
I think
teacher
it's
has to look in like 30 eyes if there's 15 kids.
I just don't think like most parents aren't qualified to teach, like, period. Right?
That's a great argument. That's the best argument. Most parents are not qualified to teach. I get that. But I do think that there are so many good resources out there nowadays, especially at the lower grade levels, that, and hopefully the parents are good enough to understand the low level stuff, but even then some don't. But yeah, if you're a stupid parent, then yeah, Send them to school.
What do you think that what's the division? Do you think the split? Like, do you think that stupid parents are more likely to homeschool or smart parents?
Um,
Or is it pretty even?
I don't know. I think it's pretty even.
I put it like 65 stupid to 35.
What do you base that on?
My gut.
Yeah. You got to remember, there's a lot of very poor neighborhoods in the United States, teenage pregnancies. Those kids are going to public schools.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You think those parents are the sharpest knives in the drawer?
No, but that's like that. Obviously not. They should be going to public school. I want them all going to public school. I want them educated.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Like I can give you anecdotal evidence, but that doesn't mean
Do you
much.
think that we should stop funding the schools based on property taxes?
Say it again.
Do you think that schools should be federally funded instead of locally funded, like by property taxes?
No. I think the closer the money is to the schools, better. Cut out the middleman.
Just because you
More-
just don't want the government involved, or
More accountability. So like, the way you run a school in one state might be different than another state. Even within a state, it might be differently run from one city to another city. You got like language issues, like in Arizona here.
Yeah.
You got a huge.
But do you worry about like this like kind of cyclical thing where like the poorer neighborhoods are just going to get worse schools, all that sort of thing?
Yeah, but I honestly don't think, like, people always say that the solution to these problems is education, and I agree, but education doesn't have to be going. It is so simple. You could put billboards. Billboards could be your education. It could be, don't let a penis go in your vagina.
Can you imagine a billboard like that in the South? In Georgia?
You can
Big letters?
still have all the sex you want. Just don't let that
The next
penis
billboard says like, you know,
go into that
Jesus,
vagina.
go meet Jesus, and then the next billboard says, don't let a penis.
See, I've been accused like I'm advocating for abstinence only, but this is where I'm different than the religious people. I'm saying you can't stop kids from having sex, but you can encourage them to have certain types of sex over others.
Yeah.
And that's the point. I mean, and it's the problem with religion that it makes sex taboo, that you can't talk about it. It's, I mean, no, you should be able to say penis and vagina as rolling off the tongue as I just did, and tell your kids, look, keep your pants on. Keep your pants on. And then you won't have a teenage pregnancy. And if you do, then you're a magician.
You need a bleep button. You need like a button that you can press on your keyboard. And
I just
bleep
played
it.
Chris Rock, who was swearing up and down.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying for yourself, so you can just be like, you know.
Yeah, that'd be
Pseudo
funny.
flirt.
If I could.
Yeah, I think you get a kick out of that. I had one more question for you before I go. What would you prefer? Would you prefer 10 people, if you could bring them into the country, 10 people earning $100,000 each, or one person $1 million?
Assuming those jobs are available. I would
Yeah.
say 10 for 100, yeah.
Okay. And what about going further, like 100 people, $100,000 versus one person, 10 million?
Yep, same.
Yeah. So is there like a financial cutoff?
But
Or
you
if I,
went
like,
up instead of down. It gets trickier when you go down.
yeah. So if I did 200 people, 50,000 each, versus one person, 10 million.
1 million. At 50,000, now you're starting to subsidization of people come into play. But I would still say the 10 at, would you say 20 at 50,000?
I think 200 people at 50,000 versus one at.
But I know what you're getting at. But I think the cutoff now starts to get when you start getting into the bottom quartile.
Mhm.
Like people making like 30,000 a year.
Right.
then I would say no. Then you're better off having that one person making a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really sure. It's hard to quantify like how much that money moving around like at the bottom tier, how much does like what does that do for the economy, you know? Because like I do feel like it changes hands more often, right? Like you know, the people that are in this $30,000, $50,000 range, like they, you know, they're spending all their money basically on food, on housing, on
Right, but
everything,
all
right?
their money is still not a lot of money.
No, I know, but I'm saying for each of those people, right? Like they're all
Yeah,
spending
I
that money, so
understand.
there's nothing being saved. So I guess like what I'm trying to say is that that money's not static, right? It's constantly moving and flowing,
Yeah.
and it's kind of trickling up
But when you're
to these
spending all your
billionaires.
money on food, shelter, and clothing, there's no money left for investment, for innovation. Like, this is why, in the long term, it's debatable whether the velocity of money outweighs the.
But doesn't that money all trickle up towards the owners of that grocery store, of that, you know, whatever, like Apple store, you know, whatever it is?
Yeah,
Does
like,
that
yeah,
money all trickle up?
money comes from somewhere. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But what really generates wealth in a society is innovation.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know enough about like
Like,
macroeconomics to.
it's people all wanting something. I gotta have that. Like, that is why Bill Clinton. This is my theory. This is why Bill Clinton is the only president to have a positive surplus in, the near time history, is because he happened to be lucky to be president when the internet came out and smartphones came out.
Were smartphones? When
No,
did
well,
smartphones?
smartphones, the
Yeah,
internet.
wasn't that more like 2005?
Yeah, sorry, but well, flip phones were out, but and they were kind of smart, semi
I remember
smart.
playing like Snake on the Nokia.
Yeah,
That was pretty great.
and the Blackberries, and yeah, but
Whatever happened to BlackBerry?
but the economy in the United States took off because there was this huge new innovation. So
Yeah.
we need people to think. We need people to innovate and invent and develop new ideas, and that will really stimulate money flow. But anyhow, I'll let you go.
Okay.
Take care.
Talk to her.
If you're new here, my name is Pine Creek. I go by Social Justice Warrior Doug. I care about people. I love all people. I'm very careful with my words to make sure that I don't offend. Oh, gum at the bottom of this. Is there any limit 1% or one person should be allowed to make as a percentage of national wealth after it becomes harmful to their nation? That's a good question. It's easy to think of it in terms of extremes. Like, if one person, the GDP in the United States is 25 trillion? Let's say one person made up 23 of the 25 trillion. That's obvious. That's a problem, right? But what's the highest number before it's no longer a problem for most people? I don't know the answer to that. But like, I played the clip of Bernie Sanders earlier, and I don't think it was in that clip, but in the actual episode, you can tell that for Bernie Sanders, in fact, let me see if I can find it. No, it's too much work. Bernie Sanders said that the wealthy should be taxed more, and Bill Maher asked a very common sense question. Well, but how does that help the little guy? So let's say you tax Elon Musk, so his effective tax rate is, sky high. How does that help the little guy exactly? And Bernie could have said, well, through social welfare programs and blah, 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 blah. But we already have those programs. So really, he could have said, well, it helps lower the debt. But he's not against debt. The reason why guys like Bernie Sanders want to tax the rich is because of their sense of fairness. It's just not right. It's just not fair that so many people have it so good and so many people not. It's a type of vengeance, that I think so many people on the left have, that it just, we need to punish. If nothing else, taxing the rich is a good thing because it's punitive. It punishes them. They deserve to be punished. And to me, that's just jealousy. In the 40s and 50s, the concurrent one percenters were taxed around 50. No, it was more than that, wasn't it? I think it was 70. I looked up historical tax rates. In fact, let me see if I can find that. I did this on a previous show. If you guys would watch every episode, you would know this. There was only 5,000 COVID deaths last month. Cheer, hooray. Let me see if I can find it this way. It's not in my files. Yeah, here we go. Oh yeah, this is fascinating to me. This is fascinating. If you guys thought this live stream was fun, wait till you see this. We're just getting started. Everybody loves tables of numbers. Who doesn't love tables of numbers? Okay, look at top tax rates. Married, filing jointly. 37%, 37%, 37%, 37%. In 2017, it was 39.6. So this is, Trump just became president. He hadn't enacted it yet. 39, so it went from 39 to 37, just like a hair lower. 39, 39, 39, 35 in 2012. I think that's because of Obama. Made it from 35 to 39. 35, 35, 35, 35. Now look how far back we have to go. Don't focus in, you're going to hurt your eyes. Okay, back in 1985, it was at 50% the top rate. Let's keep going back. Here we go. 1982, 50%. 1981, 70%. Thank you, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan's takes credit for that. Now, the top bracket was at 70% for many, many years. 70%. Look at all the tax. Look at this. This is 1974. Look at all the tax brackets. Was it like 40 of them? My goodness. And 70% started at 200,000, which is probably around 1.4 million today. But look at it, went down to 69%, 68, 66. You want complicated? And they didn't, well, the average person didn't have TurboTax back then. Okay, when did it jump to 70% or what? Yeah, it was 70% for years, decades. We're at 1966 right now, still at 70%. Okay, here we go. 1964, it was 77%. For people making over 400,000. which would be roughly 2.3 million a year. Oh, here we go. 1963, 91% for people who made over 400,000, which I think in today's dollars would be 3.5 million. Someone can quickly run that through a calculator for me. 91%. Now, why in the heck would you work a little extra harder to keep 9% of every dollar above this 400,000? Good question, Doug. Well, thank you. That's what I do here. 91% for many years. So basically the government's telling you, the federal government's telling you, you have no real reason to make more than $400,000 a year. In fact, we discourage it because you only get to keep 9 of those $100 above that level. But Daddy, my dream was in 1956 to make over 400,000 a year, and you're telling me the government's going to keep 91 of those $100? Yes, son. That's not fair, Daddy. I know, son. Anyhow, whoa, look at all those tax brackets. Unbelievable. You're welcome. You thought this live stream was going down, and then I brought up these tables of numbers and percents, and now you guys are all excited. I hope there's Kleenex by your computer, because you're going to cry with joy. 91% Oak River. But yeah, how many Democrats would take my compromise? Let's go back to 70% top tax bracket, but then let's roll back all social programs back to that date. I bet you they would not go for it. Because they want 70% and keep all the social programs. They're willing to go back to those tax rates, but not willing to go back to those welfare programs. I think you still have Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid back then. Yeah, and I wonder how many people back then did make 400,000 a year. My guess is it's the same as today, is like a fraction of a percent. But in my opinion, the goal in life is to get to a point where you're not dependent on the government. And I think even Democrats agree with that. I don't think Democrats deep down, like they might have a deep hatred for billionaires and 100 millionaires, but I think for the most part, they're okay with small business owners making 500,000 a year, $1 million a year, and being incentivized for it. They're okay with that. And I think they're okay with that goal of being self-sufficient, independent, that the government could take its social welfare programs down to close to zero, and they're still okay. Like that's a noble goal, that you can look the federal government in the eye and say, you know, I really don't need you much. The Department of Defense, you know, keep the Russians away, maybe interstates, you know, maybe a banking system, make sure that everything's fine, print some money for us so we don't have to barter. Like, that's fine. But other than that, I don't need you, government. That should be every Democrat's goal, is to actually kill their own party. Right? If people were all self-sufficient and really don't need the government much, the Democrat Party as we know it today would cease to exist. So as a Democrat, your goal should be to have no more Democrats. Oh, Doug, you and your slick wordsmithing. I was agreeing with you, and then you had to say that. How long have I been going? 2 hours, 12 minutes? I mean, I don't know how much more fun I can do. It's when wages and productivity decoupled with that people needed more safety nets. Ooh, Hillary emails. Easy, easy, big fella. Easy. Jamie says, I was homeschooled all the way until college. And Jamie, I've met Jamie, well, not in real life, but in poker. She actually can string sentences together. As far as I could tell, she knew that when she bet 100 and then bet another 100, that equaled 200. And she was homeschooled. So homeschooling works. Proof's in the Jamie. You are correct, Joystick Jedi. You could make the military budget zero, you would still have a deficit. Mainly because Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. You are correct, sir. In fact, you could double the taxes of the top 1% and still have a deficit. That just tells you how bad or good things are, depending on your perspective. Genuinely curious, you should get new music for this channel. It's messing up my doping regulation. Just for that, we're gonna start at the beginning and play it again. And genuinely curious, you stay put. Do not click off. I want you to listen to every bar of this song as punishment. I'm teaching you how to be a conservative right now, genuinely curious. The way you become a conservative is you take the pressures of life and you meet it face on. So you listen to this music. You don't run from your problems like a Democrat would. You don't blame others like a Democrat would. You don't say it's systemic, blah, blah, blah. You say, you look in the mirror and say, the problem begins with me. Not me, you. What made me choose this song for your channel? A guy named Darkin, who's here, I believe, or used to be here. It's his fault. I heard it and I thought, this is catchy. It's a song that people will either love or hate, which I like. It brings out an emotion. If Trump can articulate capitalism as good as Doug, I'd be a convert. Well, amen. I'll be running for Senate on my 70% taxes 1970 level welfare platform. And 10 million per year immigration of people who will make over $100,000 a year out of the gate. Yes, Charles B., it's your fault. I know you already know this, but every problem you have, Charles B., look in the mirror.